Discussion is, okay. I was really grappling with this a lot, and I know over the past, is it going on 11, 12 years, we had not have any tax increases, and I'm really proud of that.
Had any what?
Over the last 12 years, maybe 11, 12 years, we've not done any increases in the mill levy, tax. We've lived within our budget to do that. We've had some pretty rough and austere times, and I'm very proud that we've done that. But to steal your words there, I was thinking too that, again, we've turned a corner, and I think that trend, at least what's helped our community, is the commercial development on that, so I see that hopefully continuing. I think it's time that we look at to start reinvesting in the community, and last year and at the goal session, I really wanted that to be a return, and usually for us that's an expansion in personnel. Those are where our big items are. And I really wanted that to be an economic development coordinator on that, because to me, economic development is one of the most important things that we do, and our reason to be here as the commission, to improve the community, because that impacts so many other things. The other thing is public safety. To me, those are one of the most important things that we have to do, to look at trying to reinvest in that. Also on that too, we're looking at a new business park on that. So, and again, there's only so much to go around on that, and a new business park is going to be a very big and costly undertaking that we're need to do, but want to do that. So when you've got to weigh things, and then of course where you can see that your fellow commissioners are going on that. To me, for economic development, I'd say that should be our investment in that. As I've voiced before, I am not real confident in the retail contractor that we're looking at to be that business development partnership, and I know that we're looking at Taylor to kind of head that drive. I would still like to see that position filled, and that would and I would be asking again too the commission to look at increasing the mill level to support that. That was before also I saw the probation information too, so I had to kind of sit back and grapple with a few things on that. What I'm not for is I got the sense that rather than the retail contractor look at funding that, but maybe looking at substituting the Main Street funds for that. And I am adamantly against that. Not only do I not have, and I hope I'm wrong about the retail contractor, but I don't want them funded and not have Main Street funded on that if you're looking at, either or situations on that.
Well, we haven't even got any talks on that.
I'm just giving the whole big overview on that. I know that. But where I feel that we should look at in investing the funds. I am still very much adamantly supportive in supporting the Main Street program and supporting their funding out of economic development through that. It has a proven track record. It's investing in our downtown. And I hope I'm wrong about the retail contractor if the commission decides to go down that road later to do that. I'll be happy to say publicly I'm glad I'm wrong with that, but I just don't have a lot of confidence in that. I think for retail investment, that comes along when your housing and that starts to improve, and I think it'll be like we've done other things. We know what our shortcomings and our strengths and weaknesses are as a community. Our traffic counts, our low housing growth, and other things but that's again to look at down the road. So as I would say, to keep the status quo as we've been funding Main Street and LCDC, look at investing in the next commercial park that we want to do. So then, I said, but I still think it's time to reinvest in our city and our staff and that. And to me, the most likely place to do that would be for public safety. I would disappointed that they're still having challenges and they're not fully staffed on that, but I think that to get there and to keep hammering at that, but to get towards more funding and increased personnel, that they can really truly get to community policing and do some of the things that I think the community would like to see, getting out and visiting, you know, with doing more foot traffic, the bike traffic, and cops that we used to have to do on that. And to me, that would support an increase in the mill levy to do that. When we got the information about the probation officer, and that's been a thorn in the side for a lot of years. That's also with the police department. I think it would make their job easier and more efficient for us. That's always been a difficult thing to get our hand around, and it's just a strange relationship. So I really am supportive of the notion of looking and investigating to bring that under the umbrella of the city, similar to what we did with the CVB on that. Those are our taxpayer dollars. I think that we should really be in control, and I think we can do a better job in managing that. If that takes, Mayor, did you propose a half a mil increase on that?
That's what,
And
going
that-
off the initial proposal.
And I, you know, would even be supportive of keeping under a mil, but looking at more on that, like I said, if we could supply that additional support to our police officers to get to that community policing. And it's hard to make that argument because they can't even fill what they have. I know, and realistically, I know that that's it. So, and that's why then when we got the information about the probation, leaning more towards, you know, using that funds to support bringing the probation office under our controls. But as a long-range plan too, I think that, you know, we should look at, like I said, trying to put some of those services back that we've had to cut and enhance on the year. And who knows, I may not, as you know, as years go by, be sitting in this chair, but I hope that at least we are in a financial position that we can still continue to do that on there. So that's pretty much so. Everything else has been a status quo budget. We haven't looked. I wish we had the county's luxury as looking at we call them supplementals. I don't like the term they use, enhancements. It gives, you know, public the wrong. I would love to argue that type of budget, you know, again, someday again. You know, I hope the commission has the opportunity to do that. Yeah, that's, you know, those were, as they say, the good old days on that. So really that's where I'm at. I am looking at a very small, you know, judiciously planned out small increase. I think really to look at investing, to me, in our police, because that's our safety area, be it the probation office and into moving in the direction of greater community policing.
Nancy?
If you talk about half a mil, how much money is that?
Roughly 100.
100,000.
And that's just a starting point until we sat down with that negotiation to see where we're at.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
right.
what it's going to take to get this off the ground and get it, you know, get it staffed and get a place for it, and then taking care of the reserve.
Yeah, because I think we're not talking really just one person there. We're talking at least one person and a part-time person from, I think, how
Yeah, at
it's
least a
going to
minimum
shake
of
out.
1.5.
Yeah, how it's
Okay.
going to shake out.
If at all possible, I would not like to raise the mill levy, rather not, unless we absolutely had to fund this, but I think we should do the probation. As far as adding to the police department, I mean, they're having trouble filling what they have, so I don't think we even need to talk about that now. Economic development, I agree, is very important. I support the idea of having a contractor who knows what they're doing and who has a track record of success, and trying that for the next whatever 3 years or whatever we discussed before. And then as we're looking at that, then we can kind of get a template together and maybe have a permanent person here. But at one time, you know, I mean, we were trusting Main Street to do a lot of business recruiting for Leavenworth, because they were not just recruiting from this part of Leavenworth to downtown, they were recruiting for the whole city. And the city paid them extra money to help them do that. And then, you know, they don't do that anymore. So I think we need to do that ourselves, you know, if they're not doing that. And so I support the idea of having a professional, and I trust Paul and Taylor to find that person. As far as getting an economic development expert in here, if we were to hire him ourselves, that's a very expensive proposition to get someone who's really qualified at that. And I felt like when we had people before in here, they weren't that qualified. They weren't that qualified, and we were paying them a lot of money, and they weren't that qualified. So I really think we need to get outside help on that for now. Other than that, I pretty much agree.
Would you be willing to still look at, to increase the mill levy, to look at funding that economic development person? I think really
No,
before we do.
I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't.
Okay. But I know, I think before we needed to do
Well,
that,
to
we'd have
help
to.
pay for this, yes, but not to hire an economic development person. No, I wouldn't fund that. I would, if we looked at it more thoroughly on the probation officer, I would like to look at that more closely and see what our options are on that. And compared to what, we're paying now for it,
Well,
what it would be under our own.
reference the probation, I mean, we might be able to get this done for $0.25. I don't know, until we sit down and give Paul and Trevor a chance to work this out and then present it to us. Because you're gonna lose a lot of existing expense that they're showing on there now.
Yeah.
One is the bookkeeper at $47,000. Then they
Yeah.
did the
Here we just-
directors and this and that, so.
Yeah, when you get in the
Plus the
weeds.
additional 24,000 that they wanted for it from us. So, and we haven't approved that, so.
Right.
In reference to the cops, my heart bleeds for you, it bleeds for all the departments, but you're not gonna do anything with that department or any other department until you increase wages to get people in. And then you've opened a can of worms with the fire department. You've been
I
there
know,
before.
no, I've.
So you're looking at
And I
the
didn't-
minimum of a
I know.
6 to 10 million.
And I didn't articulate that, but I did grapple with a lot of that, yeah.
And
And
you're
I-
looking at a very sizable mill increase to be able to handle that. Because you don't just want to go in there and says, well, we'll give you enough for 2 people, which is 2 mills to start with, or 3 people. By the time you figure their equipment and all the benefits and everything else that goes with it. And it's just not our department.
No, I know.
I think Baser and Tonganoxie pay more than what ours does. And they're both smaller cities, but they've got the tax revenue apparently to do it. The county,
No,
it
that's,
comes in last on
Yeah.
all of them, but.
honestly, and that's why I was calling it a reinvestment into the police department. And the only thing that I grappled with is articulating, I don't want to hear about from the fire department that I don't care for them, or, because they have the same challenges in that, because they're both very heavy on the personnel cost with that. But right now, what's come through the needs of our community, we've heard it from the business community, and we've heard it from residential community. There's a level of there's a level of expectation there of service, and we haven't been able to do that. But again, what makes me back off from that too is it's so hard to fund or to get personnel that we have, but the only way around that is wages, and that's why, like you said, is personnel costs. And which is why I said I'm willing to look at and entertain examining what kind of increase in a mill levy that would be to reinvest in the police department right now.
It'd be sizable.
Yeah.
When we do our range studies, where I'm suggesting a 1-year range, Larry's right. When you look at what it took to get us to 2017, a 3-year range adjustment, it does help police, but it pulls everybody else, and because we do it all as one entity. So you're looking at refuse collectors, who are the lowest paid employees in the city. You're looking at fire, and it just becomes a big And then you gotta shift, that's the second part of it, is you shift everybody from the bottom up. You almost have to do a corresponding cost of living for everybody else, otherwise you get everybody in that 3 to 4, 5 year range.
You're gonna be compacted again.
Yeah.
Right, and so it's a two-step. You shift the range, then you shift the mid,
And that's
that
why I said
gets
it's-
really expensive.
I know, and that's why I said,
Yeah.
that's why I posed it as a long-range planning problem.
I would love to.
I wasn't just saying,
Yeah.
we do X number of mill increase, and here we go, we can hire X number of police
Right.
officers. It just is not that simple. It's painful, but when you cut people, that's
Yeah.
really the easier thing to do. When you have to start introducing the build back of that, the reinvestment in that, it is much harder. But,
It
and
is.
it's not an overnight thing. It's a long-range plan. I've
Playing
worked with
catch-up
companies,
is
I've
really
worked with
hard.
companies that had to do that in the private sector, and it's long and it's difficult.
Okay.
Reference the economic development personnel. I would stand firm that I think we need to get an outside source and not an employee to at least do a study like we've talked about. We have not picked a firm because we're looking at other ones.
We'll hear from 2 more.
Okay.
Good.
To give us a better idea of what they can offer and cost-wise. And from what I can pick up, for what the first one wanted, which most of them should be in that same area, maybe a tad bit more, a tad bit less, is maybe a year and a half of, and we're going to get 3 years out of that. It's going to be a year and a half of an employee. So, and then for the future, is looking at going with economic development. I was very disappointed in our last one. It sort of burnt me out with one that we had, and so that's where I'm at on that. And then, like I said, on the probation and parole, I mentioned a $500,000, but once it gets studied, if we can do it for less than that, we can do it for less than a $500,000.
And Larry, just, and I know, like, it's, when you're gonna lose, because you guys we're probably gonna do the retail, contractor thing, and I can see, I
Right.
inherently disagree, wanna be wrong in that, but even in the past history that we've been through LCDC, it's, the person you pick, that's a good example to us as how successful or how comfortable we feel with that. It is really all about choosing the right person.
Right.
So that's why, and as a commission, we don't get to hire personnel, but I think that we need to make clear the type of person and what our expectations of that person are so that we do get the right person and we're confident in Paul, understanding what we want out of that. We went through that, with LCDC. To some extent, we're also looking at that with Main
Because
Street.
technically, they're one of
Yeah.
our economic development
Yeah.
officers.
And what, like I said, right now, we're kind of at that with Main Street too. We're looking at what the expectations are. I think also too, for Main Street, the reason why some of their economic development fell by the wayside, even outside of personnel, was the economic conditions on that. It's hard to keep beating the horse and dealing with what you have
All this
when
happened
things are
long-
pretty
long
austere.
before our economic conditions.
Yeah,
We were
I-
still growing when.
Yeah, I know, and, but like I said, it is really important that even if we're paying, like we did with, LCDC, that we let what our expectations know, and the biggest heartburn with that was the person you're picking, we're not happy with it because we don't think we're getting the results for the money that we're giving for that. Yeah, it's no different whether it's outside people we're paying or whether it's in-house on that, so.
Charlie?
Well, like I said, it wasn't a whole lot of fighting over this budget. It was pretty flat, most of it. The probation situation, I do see that as a problem that needs to be alleviated. I do believe that it probably should come back to us. Again, now we can debate about how we're going to pay for that, whether it's up on the mill, half or quarter. The industrial park and downtown revitalization, I think, are the two of the most important things I'd like to see us continue to support and look forward to. I think it's very important, and that brings us to the economical development. I agree with the mayor on the situation there. I do believe we need to bring in an outside source just to give a look around in comparison to see how it compares to what we're receiving for bang for a buck in the other entities. As far as the mill is concerned, it's a hard one. I'll put it like this. I do not want to see any taxation go up whatsoever. However, when we're looking at the probation situation, you're looking at the police department situation, the mill, I would be in favor of it only as a last resort. That's the only thing left we can do to pay the bill. That's about the only way I can support it.
A half a mil would generate how much?
100 grand.
200 grand.
Well, I mean, for his taxes on evaluation.
Oh, what it would mean
What's
to the
gonna cost the
individual
average, yeah.
homeowner?
Correct.
We'd have to,
I'll have to.
I
see
can,
that.
I can tell you.
Yeah.
$100,000.
Hit that
What-
switch
what's
right
the
underneath
total
his
right
neck
now?
and it'll spit an answer.
145 for the
yeah, 'cause,
county.
well, it depends on what school district you're into.
You're not putting it all
No.
together.
Right.
100, let me just call it 150, it's about $325. 150. You know, like a $100,000 house.
Yeah, on the average, the way they put it.
Okay, $100,000 house. 1 mil is probably about $12 or $13.
Okay, so I was thinking
Yeah,
right around
half a mil,
$6 to $7.
annually. Yeah, and that's pretty rough.
Increase.
I'm just doing it based on.
Yeah, it's
what
good.
And I would
okay.
still have Ruby confirm that, not
Yeah.
that I don't
No,
trust
you-
your math, sir, but.
You just,
I can do that.
Well, I think our total mill levy, because you gotta put city, county, and
School.
school district together, look what your statement is.
Right.
If your annual taxes are $3,000, divide by that,
Right,
the mill levy of 150 with 3 entities, then you can rough it. But it's under $15, and it's probably a little bit more than $10 per mill.
right. So cut that in half, like I say, call it 6 or 7 to be on the
I
high
just said
side.
6 at average,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think the average citizen's gonna complain about that, because we've taken it down 20-some mills 2
No,
years
but this
ago.
whole group of them will never say anything about that, but they'll scream tax increase.
Well, so be it.
That's the way the game's played, yeah,
So be it.
yeah.
And we took it down last when?
2 years ago.
2 years
2 years ago? How much did we take it down?
40%.
40%
That's
of
what-
all of it, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did
We took it
basically,
down 21 mils.
21 mills is what we brought her down.
yeah, which was,
And we've
40%.
operated on a skin-tight budget for 12 years.
Right.
And we're still not getting anything out of this other than trying to streamline our services. And that's by taking this probation and adding it to us, reducing the cost. Because right now, if we go with what's presented, it's going to cost us an additional 24 grand to go with them. And then we're still
That was
not
built
getting
in the
any more.
budget.
Well, the 24 grand, I'll let you know, it's in the budget, but this is the first year we've ever had to do it, and we had to find that $24,000. And we found it by 5,000 here and
Yeah.
5,000 there.
Right.
We
We took money from the parks watering budget, so
Yeah,
they've been
see,
underspending a little bit, so we had to find that
Yeah,
$25,000.
and that's why I said, if, it's, when we see bare bone budget, we're not kidding. We have cut, we're cut to the bone.
Yeah.
I mean, there is no, fat in ours at all, much,
Yeah, if we
like I
were,
said,
if we
cut
were
the
to
bone.
do the equivalent of a mill in the budget, I would have to present programs or people that would have to be cut. There's nowhere else to cut
Mhm.
from line items,
Right.
Yeah.
commodities. It would be
Right.
positions, it would
Right.
be, or a program.
Yeah, and we're already down several positions.
Yeah, I don't know where it'd be,
but
but we'd give some options.
Yeah, I understand, but,
Yeah.
so that's why I think the citizens of Leavenworth have a fair head on them, and they would accept the half
Yeah,
mil.
but Charles, looking from your perspective and from mine, I can appreciate where you're sitting. I mean, I've been here a lot longer and been through, but for you as, this is your second budget, we're asking a lot of you. So I just, I want to, and same thing with Nancy, and that it's, so I appreciate, the perspective you've got.
Well, when we passed the sales tax, you know, it was like kind of with the promise that we were gonna, you know, here we're lowering
And we
the
did,
mill
And
levy.
we did lower it.
and
we did.
in order to get the sales tax, we did, and that's just been 2 years ago, so.
Yeah, and I have not heard any grumbling from anybody over that.
No, I'm sure not.
I think a lot of business owners are very appreciative.
Sure, they got a double whammy off of it, so.
Yeah.
And passed the countywide sales tax, 20-year, and that, ours passed huge, countywide 20-year extension passed even bigger. And we had, even part of our legislation in Topeka, they came out against it, you know, against all that.
Right.
And-
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Go ahead, Charles, it's still your floor, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was pretty much about done anyway from what, you know, but I appreciate, you know, your compliment on that. I know you're not coming into this, you know, receiving these big books and sometimes going through can be a headache and take up some time, but, no, so I appreciate that, but,
So
no,
where
that
were
was
you on the
really
mill levy increase?
And the last I left off with was, yeah, I would back a mill levy increase as long as it is the last resort of what we
Yeah,
can do.
yeah.
And judging what Mr. Kramer was talking about, aside from cutting positions, we're getting to the point to where it probably is the last resort.
I mean,
So-
I think it's fair to offer that you could take it from reserves. The big problem is you don't want to take reoccurring expenses from reserves.
No,
Right.
Yeah,
no,
that's
ongoing.
correct.
Yeah, we don't wanna do
Every
that.
year.
No.
And
we've
I'd
got-
like to
we
take
have
that
the state doing
24,000 that
already.
you
Yeah.
pulled 5 and 5 and 2 and 3
I'd like to
and put it back to
back.
where
Yeah.
it was pulled from, so. Mark?
My thought on probation, I think first we have to decide, do we want to bring it in under the city manager's office? How will we do it? And is that something we want to do without looking at it economically, just we want it from a management standpoint? That may make sense. And I think we need your recommendation along with the city attorney's recommendation, if he gives you input on that. Is that something we want to take over? Our budget, as presented right now, is flat with everything funded, as we said. So that 80,000 is already there. So if we do go with probation, we've got 80,000 right now, and that half mil doesn't necessarily come into play because we've got the 80,000, and everyone else's budget was okay. So we do have 80,000. I don't want to say to play with probation, but it's there. I don't think that if we do take probation that we need a half mil increase. But I do agree with the mayor brought up is on our reserves. And I think that's very, very critical. Running a business or running a government, you have to have reserves. And we're looking at long-term projects and emergency situations. You know, we could, in theory, run this like the state is running. Well, let's say, let's cut our mill levy by 33%. Let's cut 10 mills out of the mill levy, and then the people will come. You know, businesses will come. You know,
No.
just like they did at
Yeah, yeah.
in Topeka. They took out one leg of the three-legged stool and said,
Right.
and the sun's shining on Kansas, and we're going to be the richest state in the country, and Texas, watch out, Texas, here comes Kansas. Obviously, that hasn't played.
And they're the
We
only
have to
people that
have some
believe that.
fiduciary responsibility, and I do believe holding the mill levy or slight increases is necessary to ensure the continued health of this city. That's extremely important. How it's distributed, I don't know, but I think probation, we have 80 grand that we can play with. We bring it in. It may need some enhancements or something, but 80 grand is a pretty good amount that we could hire the two people. Eco Devo position,
You're
I'm
getting that off their presented budget?
yeah, and
Okay.
that's in our budget right
Right,
now.
right, I understand.
They have, Ruby and Paul said, you know, here's the 80 grand, it's in here. So if we don't pay it to the county, we put it in our back pocket. You know, you put it wherever, you know, that office is going to be. So I think we're okay on that. The Eco Devo, I'm in disagreement with Commissioner Weekly. She and I have been in disagreement on this for a while. I don't think it's the time is right or ripe for economic development office or person. We've had two, and it for a variety of reasons didn't produce. I think having one solid, experienced person in a city this size, you're probably looking at total package 80, 100 grand. And
Yeah.
I don't see people lining up at the door saying, hey, I don't have time for you, and take a number, okay, number one, come in, number two.
And they
I
never
mean, there's
do like
lots and lots of downtime. I like the contracted group, that, not necessarily the one that we're going after, but this. They've got a heck of a Rolodex. They've got a bunch of professionals. They're not going to be working 40 hours a week on our project, but they have all the experience.
Right.
And I think they can possibly make things happen. I think we should give them a shot, because if you have an economic development person in here, I think the city manager is going to have to say, well, on Tuesday afternoons, I need you to sweep the floor, because there's just not enough. There's not a 40-hour-a-week job in big projects. And we use LCDC quite a bit. Main Street should come into play somewhat. So, I mean, we do have some other tools at our disposal. PD salaries, understand the issue. We did make some changes, it was 2-3 years ago. It used to be basically 5 levels in the police department, and now we've made approximately, I'm going to call it 15.
Every 3 years.
Yeah, 15. That, I mean, you can be,
7.5%.
if you were a patrol officer and you got hired today, and you're a patrol officer with literally 22 years of experience, and you decide you want to stay on patrol, you made either $20 more or $20 less than the new hire. But now we've made patrol officer 1, 2, and 3. There's like 3 levels in each one of the levels, so there is. We didn't have the
We got rid
compaction.
of, yeah, we got rid of the
and
compaction.
I don't disagree that you've got to pay these people fairly. I know it's a nationwide problem now, getting police officers and public service or first responder type employees. I would like to see what we've assigned the city manager and his staff. I think raising our reserves is very critical to the overall health of the city. Anything, something could happen, hopefully not, but realistically something will, that's going to
Yep. It seems
drain
like
our
it always
reserves
does.
like that, and it puts us in a very, very unhealthy situation. I don't want to get in the situation the state's in.
Are you talking about raising our general fund reserves, or are you talking about the contingency fund?
I guess it'd be the
Contingency, I think is what we
Yeah,
was talking about
contingency, I'm sorry.
yesterday.
I should that contingency for that.
Yeah, because I see the reserves different than the.
Contingency.
Yeah.
Oh, they are completely different.
Yeah, it is different, it's different fund, different animal. Our bond position, Ruby, let us know, approximately 25 million, and extremely healthy. That's our debt. And that's a very, very healthy position. And once again, people will say, oh, we've got debt, the state debt or national debt or something like that. That's very, very healthy. What's our current bond rating, AA? What's the state's?
I don't know.
A lot less.
They're mine.
And that's not people saying we're against you or whatever politically one way or another. These are professional economic people, bankers that don't care who's in office. They're saying you're a risk or you're not a risk, and we
Yeah.
have a very, very strong
Yeah.
rating. And I don't want to lose that, because you start
Right.
losing that, you're paying more in
Yeah.
interest, and it.
Yeah, you play heck ever
Yeah,
catch
you're
it back up.
gonna lose it. So
Mark, no, I was addressing that last night with a citizen that works here but lives in Kansas City, asked me what our bond rating was. So it is out there. People know how important that is.
Yeah, no, it's
so
extremely
I
important.
agree with you.
We, this commission and previous commissions for the last multitude of years, and decades, have been very, very
He was-
fiscally
he was-
responsible.
yeah.
No one, I don't think anybody in this commission or any of the commissions have been, spending money like drunken sailors or cutting off their nose to spite their face. People say different things from the outside. When you get here and you have to make those decisions, I think everybody makes a decent decision what is overall best for the city.
Yeah, because he even.
I
answers
would
the-
consider a mill increase of a half mil, a very limited one to increase our contingency funds after city manager gets back to us. We're probably in a time crunch because we have to publish this no later than 1 August, is that correct?
We have to have
July
to the
30th.
county, yeah.
By 1 August.
July 30th is when I. have to-
July 30th,
Is when I
okay.
have to have it in the paper.
Right.
Okay, so that's,
It
you know,
doesn't have to go to
17,
the
that's 2
county
weeks
till
from,
August 20th.
basically 2 weeks from now.
You think you could have numbers together for us Tuesday?
We can have something for you.
Yeah, so I
Okay, so
think
that'd
we
give
need
us
to
a
look at
good
that,
idea
but,
then. We got 2 weeks to
Yeah.
approve it, don't we?
We're approving it on August 5th, I believe. Does that sound right?
I think August, not, what, is it August 5th or August 9th? What's
One
the-
of the two, yeah,
Yeah.
whatever that
Yeah.
second Tuesday is in August.
Whatever the second Tuesday in August
And
is.
then it's gotta be the county by the 25th. But I'll have something to you well
Yeah.
before that.
Sixth.
Yeah, he asked me, he said, how are you guys doing so well, but the state is doing so poor? I said, very long range, hard work and planning. And really knowing what fiscal responsibility means.
I don't know if anybody here that ran for office, I always refused to sign some things you get from state or national offices where you take a no tax pledge. I didn't say, no, I'm going to raise taxes, or no, I'm not going to raise it. I just avoid those things.
Yeah.
Because, you know,
You
it's
never
all
know what's
dependent on
gonna
the
happen.
situation.
Yeah,
Mhm.
never,
Uh,
never know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, the unknown. Person knew what the unknown was.
Mm-hmm.
You can
Yeah.
make good decisions. We do the best not knowing what's coming next.
That's correct.
Any other comments or questions, or wait till Tuesday to get some answers back? And
The two issues I'm looking at are contingency, which doesn't take much to look into. It'll just be whatever, and then the probation. We're meeting Monday with everybody that needs to be in that meeting, so.
Okay.
And what you're gonna show us on probation, right now, we've got 80,000. If we leave it there, we pay them 80,000 or 81, that's
Well, I liked the mayor's scenario better, but
what?
where it's 56,000, we give that 24 back
that
to where we
24
stole it
back.
from.
But right now, the
Stole it
budget
from-
shows that 80,000
It does,
is
it
moved
does.
over there, and then you're
It
gonna
is,
come back.
in the draft, it's there,
Yeah, and so, and you're gonna come back to us, say, if we move it here, here's what we can
Right.
do it for, and,
I'll give you the total
Accomplish.
amount that I think it's gonna cost.
Then the other suggestion is what's not needed for the probation parole goes to the fund,
sure, contingency.
to the contingency.
Yeah, yeah, if we can add that.
Thank you, Paul. for
Ruby,
your
do you have
leadership.
any
And
thoughts?
Ruby.
I'm saying, you got 5 crazy people up here, or
No,
you?
I appreciate working with you because this has been refreshingly different for me, having a commission that's so easy to work with and so thoughtful and
You just got us on a good year. I
Yeah.
can remember some years, in
Yeah, you wouldn't,
the fourth day, you're yelling and screaming at everybody. Well, nobody's got any other comments or questions, let's call it for the day, and we'll see what going Tuesday.
All righty.
Thank you, everybody.
thank you.
This thing must be, but, so what's happening now, you guys are gonna go back and come back, just numbers for the probation?
Yep, I'm gonna see
That's
what
not
I
too bad,
think
4
is
o'clock.
the best
Not
estimate
bad
of
at
what
all,
it
and
would
we don't
take
have to
to
come
run
tomorrow.
probation.
Good. Get back to work.
And as it stands, before any of those changes here, the total proposed budget was $36,148,000.